Hey friends, Pastor Michael from Organic Church, here with Sydney Erickson, Nick Offalter, Pastor Roger Deerdorf. So we're missing Holly tonight. She's still recovering from a Christmas dinner that she hosted here. I don't know if she slept yet. That was a long night. But then they went on vacation, and you know when you go on vacation, it's not really a vacation. So tonight's question, how has your faith impacted your day-to-day life? So work, school, friends, etc.
Sometimes it's taxing. It's hard to, some of the people that you work with, if they're not Christians, you know, it's hard to relate to them.
We're already going
hard,
there.
It's hard for them to relate to you.
Yeah.
You know, so you just have to kind of balance your day
Roger's
out.
touching his cord. I heard it crackle. I can't see his hands, but I know what he was doing. So funny that you would say that, but let me just say that I think that's the first time in history that Roger has ever said the first thing on this podcast. It's the first time ever. Congratulations, Roger.
There's a first time for everything.
Congratulations, Roger.
So I think, you know, a lot of times what you're talking about, sometimes you feel like you're in a box because of that.
Yeah.
But you've got to realize that it's the opposite. It doesn't put you in a box. If you're using that faith at work and you're applying it in the right way, it gives you so many more broader options. I think I've talked about it before where, you know, I had that one relationship with a guy that wouldn't even talk to me. Like, you know, it's just, and I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't figure out, you know, what he did. But I just kind of kept, you know, treating him as, you know, my faith teaches me to treat him. And now it's like I can't get away from him. We're the best of friends. He does me all these types of favors at work. He takes care of me and makes sure I have everything I need. And it's just one of those relationships where we thought this is never going to be good between us.
Yeah.
And now it's like I couldn't imagine the place without him.
Yeah.
But it took, you know, a lot of times I could have thrown it right back at him. You know, or like I said, kept myself in that box because I feel like I'm a Christian, so I got to step back. But no, it was almost a complete opposite. You kind of just have to keep going. You know, you got to get it out there, not actually by saying it or really talking about it, but just by
keep throwing the seeds.
By your actions.
Just by, you know, doing things the way that God would want you to do them. And it's amazing what happens when you do that.
So we recorded an episode a while back about making Christian friends, and I shared a story on that about what?
How come you can touch your mic? And
I don't know. There's something wrong with your microphone. It's not your microphone. I think it's your cord, but you're electrifying. Your personality is electrifying.
Thank you.
It makes it crackle and make all kinds of weird. And he goes, "Thank you."
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. But after that episode, I thought about the story that I had shared and the friends and all of the situations. And I just recently, I don't want to say reconnected, but made an effort to reconnect with those friends. And we had bought some tickets to see Natalie Grant in Pittsburgh. I found I just saw the link on Facebook and hopped on their website, and they had 4 front row seats available. And I bought 4 front row seats. It on a whim, like we're going to do this. And I immediately sent them a text and said, "Hey, I just got 4 tickets to Natalie Grant," because they have
always
been to 3 different shows with us, I think, something like that. And then it turned out that they couldn't go. So now I've got 2 extra tickets to see Natalie Grant. But the point is like
Is she related to Amy?
I don't,
because every time you say Natalie Grant, I think of Amy Grant.
I know that.
I can't separate the two.
It's hard, but they're not the same.
Okay.
They're not the same. Very different. Like Amy Grant is not even a Christian artist anymore. She's like a country / Christian artist.
Yeah.
So,
well, she's married to Vince Gill,
right? Yeah. So she went to the dark side. No. So she just, definitely. No, they're not related. I don't believe. Maybe somewhere down the road. I don't know.
Let us know, Natalie and Amy.
Yeah. Nat, if you're listening.
You mentioned her once before. My brain immediately thought of Amy Grant, and I'm like, that's not who he's talking about.
No, it's not who I'm talking about. So, but the point was that being a believer in Christ, while our lives have taken different paths at this point, if I give up on that friendship, or not even the friendship, but if I just say, hey, I'm going to take my distance, then how am I trying to put them back where they should be?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm
like
not
you
saying
can't give up on them.
Yeah, right.
You can take a step back for your own. Yeah.
When I think I needed to readjust too, I had to recalibrate to a certain level, because a lot of people don't understand, and anybody who knew me before I was pastoring would know that like this to Tina Newman's son, when he found out that I was her pastor, he's like, whoa, that's not good. But he knew me in high school, so he didn't know like.
Well, I think you said this past Sunday, you said, your path to faith is not finished.
Yes.
It'll never be finished.
Yes.
And what you have to realize is sometimes some people haven't even started.
Yeah.
And yet you have to be sometimes that person that in some small way, if you stick with it, just maybe, you can get them started.
And even if it's not a start, maybe it's a restart.
Mm-hmm.
That's another really hard.
Almost like tilling the garden instead of like planting seed.
Because I was telling Roger this before you guys got here. I've been propagating hydrangeas. So it's probably the most fun I've ever had. It sounds dumb, but I took cuttings off of I have these great big massive hydrangeas at home. I took 12 starts and I planted all 12 of them in literally red Solo cups and put them into
he's got a grow house.
Well, I didn't at first.
In his basement.
I didn't at first.
He does.
I really do. Yeah, I really do. I started out with a plastic tote. I put the plants on the lid of the tote and sat the tote over top of it because it would keep the humidity.
It's a low budget.
Yeah, it was right. It was entry level. Well,
whatever works.
It was supposed to be a hobby. It was supposed to be, this is just fun, right?
Yeah.
But
now
you're married to Chase. You know. So now I have a greenhouse in the basement with a grow light.
You've got vines coming in.
I was going to say there's fans in there, and I go in and I water them. But my hydrangeas have started to bloom, and so if I didn't water them every day, they wouldn't bloom.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I've taken something that would have died over the winter, and I have managed to keep it alive. And I actually have one that's fully blooming right now, which is wild to think about because they're all dead outside.
Right.
But this thing has big, beautiful pink flowers on it. And what's crazy, the plant that I clipped it off of was purple.
Huh.
And it's growing pink, but it's the acidity in the soil, I guess. Anyhow, point is that if I could have just let them die outside, but instead I chose to bring them in, take the cuttings and water them and help them to grow.
Time.
Sometimes that's what you're doing. They may have been able to survive and would have bloomed again in the next season, but taking time to help them grow again. So, yeah. Friendship is an interesting one for me. That's a hard one. It's a really hard one. It's also really hard at work too.
Yeah. Especially, I've heard a lot of people say like, well, so-and-so's that kind of Christian that, oh, bless your soul. But then 2 seconds later turns around and,
drops the F-bomb.
Yeah. And it's like, you kind of have to, make amends for not only them, but you're also like trying to plant that seed and like, I don't know, just reconstruct that for the person that's not the Christian. Yeah. Yeah. That's hard.
We are always an example of Christ, not of our specific church.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that. They think you can do and say or act however you want. And the crazy part is I have people in our church who will walk up to me and say some of the most absurd things. And I'm like, that's not very Christ-like. And don't get me wrong, I slip up too, but like, it's a little bizarre to me that you would walk up. Yeah, you would walk up to me and say that. Like, we don't find humor in hurting other people.
Right.
We don't find humor in it's hard for me to tell some of the other adults that their kids are bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, hey, your kids are not behaving in class, so you're gonna have to keep them.
Right.
Now.
Well, that's a nice way to tell them they're bad.
Yeah. Use the word obstinate. Your children are very obstinate. They have to Google it whenever they get home, so they don't get mad until
is
they're
that
gone.
a compliment or a complaint?
They aren't mad until they get home.
How do you Google?
How do you Google? What is this Google that you speak of? But so when we say things, we're representing Christ, not just a specific congregation or specific body. So you hurt somebody, and not gonna. So there are some people who like to, when they get mad at somebody, well, God bless you. Like you can't use that.
I hope you have the day you deserve.
Yeah.
I think you were the one who sold that one.
I have done that before. I hope you have the day you deserve. Yeah.
McDonald's.
Yeah. Hey, listen, don't give me cold food. No, kidding. But whenever you say God bless you like that, when you don't really mean a blessing on that person, to me, that's taking the Lord's name in vain.
Yeah.
It's the same difference because you're saying something that you don't actually mean, and you're trying to use God for the opposite of what he is there for. And so, when you say that to somebody, and they hear it and they know you're rude, you're being rude with them, and you hang up. They're like, if that's what a Christian is like, I don't ever want to be one.
Right.
I don't ever want to. And they never go to another church because they assume that we're all that way.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's a really hard, like,
balance.
we have to walk that every day, which is a real big challenge for me. Because I don't like people, like people at all.
I know.
Yet you work in hospitality and you're a pastor.
But
He just does it for the money.
yeah. I pastor to get rich. That's for sure. That's for sure. No, I only work at my job for the car, for the company car.
It's a nice one now.
Yeah, it is.
It's fast. Dude.
Yeah, I took Roger on a ride today.
Oh.
We put him on the interstate.
What is it?
Glued him to the seat. It's a Tesla.
I thought so. I was like, is that a
Yeah.
Tesla?
How's that going to do in the snow?
You know what? The other day when it snowed, Berlin had a lot more snow than we had here. Fine.
Yeah.
It was fine because it's so heavy because the battery's underneath of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was really it's
Now, will
not
you
bad.
charge it at your work or at home?
So, fun story.
Yeah.
This is not on topic,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
just we're gonna get back to that. But if I charge it at home in a regular 110 outlet, like just like your regular inside
Yeah,
outlet,
I knew you had to get like a
which I can
special
do.
one. Okay.
So they make an adapter, so it just plugs into a regular outlet,
Okay.
goes into this big box, and then it plugs into the car. I charge, if I do that at night, I get 4 miles per hour that I charge. So needless to say, not a
ain't
whole
gonna
lot of
happen.
charging happening.
Yeah.
Holy.
For 6 months, you get free supercharging.
Wow.
So I have been driving over to the Sheetz station and supercharging there.
Now, in Millersburg or Philly?
In Philly,
Okay.
there's not a Sheetz in Millersburg. As a matter of fact, there is nowhere to charge
That's
in
what I was
Millersburg.
wondering. Okay.
So I have to be very diligent about making sure that it
Yeah.
is charged.
Yeah.
At our one hotel, the Berlin Resort, we do have a charger there, but it's not a Tesla charger, so it's got a different end on it, so it doesn't fit in the car. So you have
It's
to
for the golf part.
right. So you have to buy an adapter for it. So I bought the adapter. It's supposed to arrive on Friday, and then I was cleaning out the trunk of the car because I moved all the stuff from the Jeep into that and found the adapter. So I have been taking it to the supercharger, but I could have been charging it at work. But yes, I can
That's cool.
charge at work. So
Neat.
fun stuff. Yeah. But so it's really hard at work. I'm behind a desk most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't deal with like guests and like I have a lot of employees that I
Like,
deal with,
yes.
but not so much the
Customer
service side. And I do in the cabins on occasion. I work in customer service in the cabins on occasion, but not very often. So
We just want to clarify the church is not paying for this Tesla.
no. The church is not paying for this Tesla. As a matter of fact, if anybody was here last Sunday, the very first thing I made a joke during announcements about it, because there is nothing I hate more than people making comments about what I drive. It's a company car. I don't pay for it. I didn't make the choice in what they bought me. Now, don't get me wrong. I love that car, but I didn't choose it.
Right.
They bought it. They ordered it. They picked it. They picked the color, all of the features. They did everything. Like I had nothing to do with it, but they treat me pretty good there.
Yeah.
You get that a lot. You know, oh, you must make way too much money at the church. I hate to tell you, I don't.
I do not.
I don't. But I don't do it to get rich either.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If we did it to get rich, we
wouldn't do it.
wouldn't do it.
Yeah, nobody would.
No.
Nobody would. I mean, even if you think about like the pastors who have a parsonage and then get paid on top of that, you're still not getting rich because you're living in somebody else's house.
Right.
If you're not
You can't-
pastoring there anymore, you don't have a home.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
And you're limited on what you can do to the house. Yeah.
yeah, it is a little bit. It's,
Yeah.
When I started doing this, I never I thought I was going to do this full time. Like this, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to pastor.
Yeah. How's that working out?
And then I
for you?
realized, I don't know, third, fourth day in, I was like, they can't pay me to be here all day. This ain't going to work out. This is not going to work out. So,
Florence, you did not tell me
yeah.
this.
Well, she really did prepare me for it.
Yeah.
She was like, this is what it pays. And Alyssa and I talked about it. And she's like, we can make it work. And we could have made it work.
Yeah.
But a couple of things. I would have gone crazy because it just wasn't at that time enough to do.
Yeah.
And then the lifestyle that we choose to live, and what I mean by that is our kids are all three in piano lessons. It's not like frugal spending, but my kids are doing things that my daughter's in dance.
That you weren't able to
right.
do. Yeah.
Stuff that I didn't get to do as a
Yeah.
kid, stuff that we want our kids to be able to do. So
Yeah.
But again, so we have been faithful tithers ever since we've been members of this church. Which is in turn how we're blessed with the things that we're blessed with. And I'm not saying that you're blessed financially if you give financially, But we don't just give financially. We give a lot of our time. A lot of our energy. I mean, we spend it focusing on what's happening in the church or in this building or with this body of people. And so we're blessed because of that. But our faith has determined that.
Definitely.
I talk a lot about, when we write our tithe check, it's not a tithe check. Just like it's right off the top. We don't even consider. There's never been a moment where we've like, well, if we kept that, we would be able to.
Right.
It's not our money. It never has been. Like when my paycheck comes, it's short our tithe. Like that's how we look at it.
Yep.
So makes a big difference in life, though. And we've never been without. We've never had an experience where we were like, we don't know how we're going to pay the water bill.
Yeah.
But the church has been. Do you know what I mean? Like that's why we
Which
give.
is crazy to think.
We give so faithfully. It's why we give so faithfully. So
like. That's, you're head of household. You're the only one bringing in an income. Nothing against Alyssa, but I'm saying like with the church, you've got, let's say 40 people head of household that are and then we're more prone to get our water turned off.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And it's interesting because this building is so much bigger than a house and it takes more to heat it.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
So we could get into the whole
logistics.
We open the building and nobody shows up. We've heated it for no reason. You get into all of that. But the point is, when Alyssa and I give, we give because we want the house to stay open.
Right.
We want the building to be able to operate. And I can't tell you the amount of stuff that we've donated to the church. I mean, most of the tech that you see in the building, we have bought and donated because there was a need and the money wasn't there. So we bought it and put it in place and we've never looked back.
Yep.
The video computer that's in the sound booth, we bought that. It's a gaming PC. It wasn't cheap, but we knew what we needed to get the job done.
Right.
We knew the church couldn't afford it. And we were on the cusp of something amazing in technology and in worship. And I was like, we're just going to do it. We're going to make it happen. And it lived at my house for like 3 months while we worked on the software and got everything up to speed. And I'll never forget dropping it off because I love technology. I'll never forget dropping it off in the sound booth. I was like, I don't want to leave it here. I want to take it back. This is probably the nicest computer I had ever owned. And yet here it is. So, but we, again, our faith, our ability to believe that it was the right thing to do. Like there was never a doubt that I just brought another TV tonight and put it on a stand for the new kids classroom. Like we just do it. We want to see this place flourish. Yeah. And we always say that this is a season of our life.
Yeah.
For Alyssa and I, we don't know that we'll be here forever. It's a season.
Right.
Something happens to us or we get called somewhere else. It is what it is. But we're going to leave this church ready to continue to serve the community. So, and that is true faith because all of the crazy things that happen, you never know. Like you walk away. If Alyssa and I were to leave today, if we were to say, hey, we feel called somewhere else, Foursquare can't find pastors right now. They've got a church in Mansfield that they can't get a pastor for. They have nobody wants to go there. The church also has 14 people and $0, so they can't pay anybody to be there.
Right.
So you have to be bivocational, which again is fine. But if you don't live in Mansfield, how do you pastor people who live in Mansfield? Like you can't live in Dover and commute to Mansfield, have a day job. Like you only show up on Sunday morning, so you're not really pastoring people. You're keeping a building alive is really all you're doing.
I had my old pastor growing up. He moved from Bethel and went to Mogador, and then I think he was off for a couple years, and then he started back up actually in Mansfield, which is where he was from.
Interesting.
But he was doing like an hour and a half commute, so he would just stay there, and I'm like, I don't know, I just don't know if it'd be worth it.
It's just not the same.
Yeah.
Alyssa and I,
I don't think his heart would be in it at that time.
Well, you can't be.
No.
I mean, even just being bivocational with a full-time job like I have, it's really hard for me to separate, to like carve out that ministry time. So like, people text me and I don't always get back to them right away. Like Beth and I had a very quick phone call this morning. Like it just, my ministry time in between my day job is very, very short, very brief, very quick. But I also have a body of people who understand that.
Yes.
But that was not the case at first. That was a battle when I first started pastoring, because Florence was
They were
always
used to-
available. She was
right.
you could call her any time of the day. As a matter of fact, if you didn't call her, a lot of times you got in trouble for not calling her. Like,
Yeah.
if you served with her and she
Yeah.
didn't talk to you at least 3 times a week, there was a problem.
Yeah.
So she wanted to be on the phone with you. And now I shoot a text or a group message or bring everybody up to speed in like the fastest way possible because I don't always have that time
Right.
to spend
Yeah.
on the phone or whatever. So yeah, but once everybody started to realize like, hey,
This
got
is
to
different.
give a lot of grace.
Yes.
And they were able to start seeing the things that we were able to accomplish because of that.
Yeah.
We would spend our evenings here. Roger and I have laid carpet in the building. We've painted walls and all sorts of.
Well, no one likes change,
No, no, they don't.
Especially having her here for how many years?
Yeah.
And going from a female pastor to a male pastor who's never
and
done
young.
it.
That was a big
Yes.
difference. That was a big difference.
Yeah.
That was like,
When you hold any authority when
Oh
you're
my
young, that's
gosh.
hard too. Like,
and I never positioned myself where I feel like I'm like not approachable.
yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. There are times when people were like, I wasn't going to talk to him because they knew I was frustrated or angry or whatever. But I've never put myself above
on a
anybody
pedestal.
else. Like
Yeah.
listen, I love having folks at my house because they get to see how we live. They walk into my house and there's toys all over the place. I'm like, welcome. It is like I don't clean up for people anymore.
Yeah.
Like we're real people. We all have lives.
Yep.
Yeah.
My grandmother used to say, if you came to see the house and not me, you don't need to come at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Amen.
my wife was always so we used to have somebody that would come and help us clean the house. Now it wasn't like we had a house cleaner. Let's be very clear. It was once a week, and they would do odd things like do the outsides of the windows or clean
the
the shower,
more
stuff that
deeper
we didn't
cleaning.
always have
Yes.
time to do. They didn't like do our laundry or anything like that. And again, another one of those things where people are like, you make too much money if you can afford to have a housekeeper. I'm like, I don't have a housekeeper. But my wife would clean up for the cleaner. I'm like, why am I paying these people? Like, why don't you just do it then?
Yeah.
Margie would do that.
Yeah,
she
she, like-
cleans up in the hotel. Like,
Yeah,
I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
We do
She's
that.
making the bed before we leave. I'm like,
You know they got to change those. You don't have to make, I hope they change them at least.
See, I like doing it just not making the bed, but like stripping the sheets
Yep.
just to make sure I have everything because
Yeah.
if I'm missing a sock or a charger or a swimsuit, top, something like that, then I'm like, man.
yeah.
Alyssa and I are the same way, but that's because I work in hospitality,
Right,
so we get
right.
it. But again, it's another one of those little idiosyncrasies
Yes.
that, like, when somebody walks into a room that I've checked out of, same with Margie, they're like, oh, these people are wonderful. I love these people. And they don't even know that you're a Christian. They don't know that you follow Christ. But it's those little
Yes.
things that you do that
Yeah.
one of the things that I like to do whenever I go to Walmart, smile at random people. Like, because they're like, this guy's weird. I'm like, yeah, I am a little
I
bit.
am.
But even if they don't appreciate it in that moment, there is a certain amount of brightness that they get
Yeah.
from that. I took Adeline to Claire's today. And so we have a deal. She found this mini backpack that's like 4 inches tall. It's stupid. And I shouldn't say that because she might hear that. It's adorable. And a notebook that matches it. Okay.
That fits in it?
No.
Okay.
So that would like the backpack practically fits in the notebook.
Okay.
I mean, it's dumb. Like the sizing is just doesn't make sense. But it's rubber and it looks like a pair of Crocs. And so you can put charms on it.
Oh.
But the little holes are cut out like hearts. And so she saw it. She was there one day. She saw it. She fell in love with it, and she really wanted it. And Alyssa said to her, well, you have to sleep in your own bed for 7 days, and then you can come to Claire's and buy something. She always ends up in bed with Alyssa, and I end up on the couch. So she made it her 7 nights, and today was her day. And so we went to Claire's, and like she is running into that store because she knows exactly what she wants. And the lady says, anything we can help you with? I said, no, I think she's got it. She doesn't even she looks a quick pass and she goes, Dad, I don't see it. I'm going to buy something else. And is immediately now on the hunt for something else. So we spotted the backpack. We spotted the notebook. She ended up buying them. But it was funny to listen. There were older people in there shopping for grandkids and things like that. It was funny to hear. She's so sweet. She's so cute. Like that joy that she was carrying in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
Like it makes a difference in people's
Yep.
lives. And
Yep.
so that's one of the things that I always try to do. I always try to be very approachable when I'm in public.
Yeah.
But sometimes to my dismay. So I ran into a girl who used to work for me, did not know she didn't like me, had no idea until I spoke to her. And then I found out. I was like, hey, how are you? And she's like, fine. And she like was very short and walks away. And then she starts cussing at me as she's walking away. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess she's upset with me. I have no idea why. I don't really care at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you don't work for me anymore. But
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to be nice to her if I see her
Yeah.
because I'm not mad at her.
Right.
But she is poisoned with whatever she's mad at me about. So I mean, she did get fired, but I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't involved,
Right.
and it was her own fault.
Yeah.
She called another manager some really choice words. So I mean, it happens. But yeah.
You're probably just guilty by association.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Like, because I didn't intervene and stop it.
Right.
But, yeah.
But like she deserved it.
Yeah.
So
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the day that she got fired. She would leave these long voice memos, not a text message, not a voice to text, but like she would record her voice and then send it to you. It was like 2.5 minutes long. I never even listened to it. I have no idea what it says because I knew like it wasn't good. Like at this point, it wasn't going to be positive. So
yeah.
maybe one day I'll go back and listen to it. Probably on it. Oh yeah, I don't delete anything off my phone. I have every text message from as long as I've
1912.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I get text messages from Jesus on here.
Do you?
Yeah. There's all kinds of texts. But
I always get yours a day late.
yeah, I know. Or not at all. Or not at all.
I'm serious.
It could be your service.
You think?
Whatever.
I mean,
Or the phone that's smashed into a million pieces.
Yep.
Like he has to hold the battery in whenever he talks on it. The speaker part dangles out of the top.
you say that we have a phone at home. I've got tape holding the
I'm
battery.
not surprised.
Nope.
I'm not
Because my
surprised.
wife lost the back.
I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, Pony Express just quit delivering mail out at my house.
Yeah, I
I
believe
know.
that.
I know. Been out there. It's out there.
It really is out there. It really is. And what's funny is I can get to his house just fine. I
Yeah.
don't ever have a problem getting there. But on the drive back, I'm always like, wait.
Well, a lot of
And
times it's dark. And
It's a fairly straight shot back, but it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it is. It feels like you should be turning somewhere. Like
Yeah.
there should be a.
I think because it's if you're on Henderson and when it
Turns into Holmes Church.
yes, Henderson
Yes.
turns into Holmes and you're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay, what else we got? I got to fill my coffee cup.
Well, fill mine while you're going,
I
will you
was gonna
please?
ask him. Raj, you
What?
have anything?
Well,
Yeah, you're on a roll tonight.
Yeah.
hey, I do have a blessing.
Yeah.
Sunday morning, not Sunday morning, Sunday after church, we needed gas,
Holy Spirit gas.
and naturally, my wife's car needed gas, and my truck needed gas. So I said, "Well, meet me at the gas station." So I go in, pay for her gas, pump the gas. I go in and pay for mine, and there's a gentleman ahead of her, and he's pumping gas. I go in, get mine, get ready to put the nozzle in my in the tank, and this fellow says, "You getting gas?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, here." He says, "Finish." He says, "I don't feel like going back in and getting my change." I had
Oh.
like almost $5 worth of gas.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I said, "Well," "Are you sure?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, I said, "Well, thank you very much."
Yeah.
I says, "You have a blessed day."
Yeah, that goes a long way too.
Yeah.
Well, $5 doesn't go a whole lot.
Well,
Yeah.
no, but
Go very
hey,
far in your car anymore.
More in her car than his truck.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I put it in my car. I put it in my truck.
Yeah, okay.
I-
Well.
She,
But when
she
you're
can,
a person,
she can pay for her own gas.
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
she can
wasn't
pay
it
for
convenient when
She gets some
you
money from me?
when you were out of gas, she was also out of gas? You think maybe she's caught on to like, oh hey, he needs gas soon.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll
Yeah. Well, I was the last one to
Skeeter
drive.
and Tanya.
I was the last one to drive her car, so and I forgot. I
Sounds
forgot to
just
put
like
gas
them.
in it. So
When you're a person like me who, after it's clicked and you're done pumping gas, I still like tilt it all the
Oh
way
yeah,
up.
I
and
want
get every
every
last
drop,
drip.
baby.
wiggle it.
Yeah. And if it drips after I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's
Like,
got to be at least
oh.
a half a
man.
penny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
on the ground.
Yeah, yeah. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
And what's funny is Alyssa is like, if she pumps a full tank of gas and it lasts her 2 weeks typically because she just drives in Dover.
Yeah.
If it doesn't last her 2 weeks, she's like, we're not taking my car anywhere today. She's like, I can't come to church on Sunday. I ain't got no gas. I'm like, just go put gas in it. She goes, no, it's got to last me 2 weeks. The tank's got to last me 2 weeks. She's really funny about it. But that is a good blessing. It's
Yeah.
really nice.
I mean, I thought it was Very nice.
Well, and that just ties into our lifestyle, and that we all run on the Holy Ghost gas.
Oh, well, I do that that quite a bit too.
Yeah.
Not me. I'm really like, I always wanted to have my car to half tank, like,
Yeah.
especially in the winter months, because I'm slightly spoiled and I don't like my car to be cold when I get in it. So I remote start it. And if it's too low on gas, it wouldn't remote start. Yeah. Like if the gas light was on whenever you parked it, chances are your remote start's not going to work. It'll run for maybe a second and then shut off.
Mine would never work.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't do that. That's stressful to me.
Oh, my sister will send me a Snapchat. Should I risk it? It's like she's got 13 miles left of gas and she's 7 miles away. I'm like, oh, I've gone to zero so many times, and I'm like in Philly. I'm like, I can make it home.
You know what's funny? Again, Skeeter and Tanya, they made a post about one of their vehicles needing gas because they always pick on each other about leaving their cars on empty. And Shai had commented on it and said, "Oh, I could get to Philly and back on that." And it was like completely empty.
Nope.
Oh,
It's like her car would be weighed almost on the E. She says, "Oh, you got enough to go to Canton." Well,
No,
maybe you do, but I don't.
Yeah. Well, listen, since I got the Tesla, I don't play those games anymore. There's no like.
How long does it take to charge?
So it depends on how I charge it. If I go to a supercharger and it's empty, like if it's just about dead, it takes about a half hour. So, but if it's like right now, it's got 160 miles and it's max. I only ever charge it to 80%. That's the max. You only fully charge it if you go on a long trip.
Oh, okay.
So, but fully charged, to the 80%, it's 208 miles roughly. So it's just over 200 miles. That takes about 30-ish minutes to do. But we just watch Netflix or play games. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask what you did with your time.
You can't beat that. You can't beat that.
That thing's got more bells and whistles.
I put Roger in the front seat. He was like, "Well, you have to push a button to get out. It doesn't. There's no door handle."
There's no door handle. Yeah, I mean,
So-
you got to be a rocket scientist just to get it open the door.
That was back to the gas thing. Chase, poor guy. He's got a truck. I'm about the only person in the truck or in the family that has a truck now. My dad used to, and was like, I don't really need it anymore. Like he had one growing up, but now he's like, so he's been moving my grandparents and asking for Chase for the truck and stuff. So he asks him tonight, and we had to go take my CRV to his garage, like across town. And we come back, he's like, oh, I need gas. And he's like, well, I'll just fill up. I'll be the good man and have it ready for your dad. I'm like, well, he can fill it up every now and then. He's like, no, I'll just be good.
But again, lifestyle versus, you know what I mean? Like, my grandpa my grandpa had a great big Dodge truck. I mean, this thing was like gas hog. Maybe took diesel. I don't remember. But he let me drive it one time really far away to pick up furniture when I was selling furniture because it was out of stock and another store had it. I was picking it up so that my customer could get it so that I could get paid for the sale. And I picked it up and so much gas. I actually should have just waited on the furniture to come in. By the time I got paid for
lost money
for the sale, I probably lost money. Yeah. But I filled up his tank. And I think that that's one of those like intrinsic traits of being a Christian is always do what's right, not necessarily what's easy. Always do what's right. And it's not always about filling up the gas tank, or sometimes it's just sending a text that says, hey, thinking about you, or you know what I mean? Like it's always it
doesn't have to be like a price thing.
Helping somebody that needs a hand.
Yep. Yep.
Like with their plug for their Alexis or for their
Their Lexus.
Yeah, with their Tesla.
Their Tesla.
Yeah. So Roger's like, I'm going to be off for 10 days next week. I'm like, hey, man, I've got an electrical project at my house you can come help me with. Worked out beautifully. He should have just kept his mouth shut.
Yep. He'll never learn.
Nope. Not with me. Not with me. It'll be fun.
That's mine.
You know I don't mind.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll be crawling around in my attic at home. See if I can fall through something. Oh, that'll be bad. That'll be real bad.
Alexa, start my Tesla.
Alexa, turn my butt warmer.
Yeah. Listen. that thing heats we're so off topic, but that thing heats so fast because it's not gas. So in a gas-powered car, you have to wait for the engine to warm up. That's what blows hot air. That thing, I don't know if it's like an electric heater
like
or
a
what.
toaster.
Yeah, seriously. Listen, my car's on a schedule. Every morning at 7:30, it warms up so that when I go out and get in it, it's already warm. It automatically turns on the heated steering wheel, the heated seat. The car is nice and toasty, heated to a balmy 72 degrees. And listen, as soon as you open the door, the radio kicks on and it's playing some jams. And it's like the car is super intuitive.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
That's not a car for an old person.
My grandma, she got a newer vehicle a couple months ago, but it's got the backup camera. And she's like, here, you can drive, because she was having problems with her eyesight. And she's like, I was like, oh, this is, because I have one, but it's not as big. Like mine's just like, I don't know, like 3 inches by 3 inches. Hers is like the whole screen. And she's like, I never use that thing. I don't know how to use it. I'm like, well, look at the green, yellow, red. And I'm like, you'll get it. You just got to practice. No, I'm like, oh my God.
I have kind of gotten to the point to where I don't know if I could back up without it. When I learned to drive, you had to use your mirrors to do the maneuverability.
Yes,
they don't even do that anymore.
No, you can turn around or
they have all sorts of different rules for maneuverability now. And now I'm like, my dad's van. So my dad bought Alyssa's old Town and Country when we bought her Pacifica.
Okay.
And I had to drive his Town and Country one day, and I put it in reverse, and I looked over to the side for the backup cam. There isn't one. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen A Man Called Otto? with
Yes.
Tom Hanks?
Yes.
How'd you love it when the guy's trying to back up the U-Haul and he scores these juices and Tom Hanks is like, get out.
That is funny. That is funny. That's a great movie.
Oh yeah,
It is.
That's a good one.
That reminds me of, I just watched The Blind.
I've not seen it yet.
That's good.
The first week it came out, it was like $24.99 to rent, and I'm like, so I waited a couple weeks. And
$24.99.
Yes.
To rent.
And
they only give you 48 hours to watch it.
So we rented it on Amazon the other night, and it was $4.99.
Yeah.
But it was.
I can get behind $4.99.
Yes, same. It was Sadie Robertson's
Family story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grandpa Phil.
Yeah.
So it was really good though.
Let's talk nostalgia for just a second. I called my wife the other day. It was just a random phone call. I call my wife probably 3-4 times a day while I'm at work because I'm bored, and she's not, but I don't care. And so I call her and I said, hey, you know what I miss about living in the Columbus area? So we lived in the Heath, Newark area. And she said, what? I said, family video. Even after Blockbuster was gone and Hollywood Video was gone, they still had a family video. And you could go in and rent video games and movies and Blu-rays and DVDs and all the good stuff, right? And like we would take the kids there on Saturday night, let the kids rent a video game. We would get a couple of movies. We'd take them home. We'd watch. Like I miss that.
Yeah, it was an event.
It was an experience.
Something you planned.
Yes.
And you followed through with it.
And now
because you had to.
Now I binge watch a TV show on like in an evening. Like I can watch The Crown I like The Crown.
I started it and then quit, and now I feel like I have to start all the way back at the beginning.
You do.
I just saw the preview for the latest season. I'm like,
you need to make sure you like
that.
really
Yeah.
But I binge watched the whole season in 4 days. They're an
Because it's
hour.
available.
They're an hour apiece, but
Yeah.
it's right in front of me
Yeah.
all the time. So now I can.
My mother-in-law, she's like, I'm not paying for Wi-Fi. I'm not paying for cable. So she goes to the library and like rents DVDs now. And I'm like, the library still does that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep,
they do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we take our kids spend more time in the library than anybody I know. But my wife, it doesn't cost us anything. The kids they have computer, like a quote unquote computer bank there where they have 5 computers and you can sign up and you can play. You can do, if you're doing homework, you can get, I think it's unlimited time, but if you're playing games, you get a 1 hour time slot. DVDs, audiobooks, all the books, like, I mean, everything you could ever want.
Yeah.
And so they have it's kind of like Pokemon, but they're designed for
Education.
yes and no. They're different things, mythical creatures and dragons and whatnot, but they're teaching the kids how to play card games. And the idea is that they're trying to get the kids to not want to play on the computer or on the tablet, but learn how to play other card games. Like,
it's just crazy we're at that point in life right now.
yeah, like we're begging our children not to play on electronics because they have so much of it readily available to them. And I'll tell you, that's one of the things my kids keep telling us they don't want to homeschool next year. They want to go back to public school. My wife and I are like, not gonna happen because we're able to instill so much in them just the time that we spend together as a family has almost tripled at this point.
Yeah.
Plus, we're teaching them things that they wouldn't otherwise learn. Like they're learning how to cook. They're learning how to do laundry.
Right. Those are things they need. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
And when they would go to school all day, they would come home. We're like, we're not going to make them learn how to do laundry. They've been at school all day.
Right.
But they can get their schoolwork done in 2 or 3 hours at this point. So,
well, and you're
It's home ec. Hey,
right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, and they
which I don't even
Just
think they do
continue
that
that.
anymore
They
at
don't.
all, do they?
They don't do a lot of the, like the wood shop that we knew. They don't
Right.
do any of
Yeah.
that stuff anymore.
Uh-uh.
Like, all of that stuff has gone by the wayside.
Yeah.
well, and you guys like you make sure they're still in the community somehow.
Mhm.
Like when I think we were either in 6th or 7th grade, like your curriculum changes for homeschoolers
Yeah.
and it gets harder right around that
Yeah.
age. So we had like 4 people come around that time and to Claymont, and they were just kind of strange, you know?
Yeah.
But it's because they didn't have
weren't socialized.
a community. Yeah, but
They
it's
weren't
like you guys keep them in events and sports that, you know, they're able
so
to have friends.
They all do piano lessons, dance, flag football, soccer. They go to a co-op group every Friday, so they're with other kids that are homeschooled. It was really funny. Alyssa was telling me that in one of the little pairings, they do like there's a story time, there's a snack place, like it's like a weekly VBS is basically what it is. You go from station to station and do things. And she said in one of the little classes, the kids all realized they were all homeschooled. Like one little girl, they were talking about something, and one little girl goes, "Oh, I learned that at homeschool." And then another kid goes, "I'm homeschooled." And then another one, "I'm homeschooled." And they just all happened to realize that they were all homeschooled together. Like they hadn't figured it out. But so they do co-op, and then obviously library stuff. If they have a homeschool event at the library. I don't know if it's once a month, once a quarter, but you can take your kids there and they do all of this fun hands-on science stuff.
Yeah.
But we socialize them in different ways.
Yes.
We socialize them in environments that are safe, that we can kind of control. And I know that life is not controllable.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're also still very young. And so I'm okay with having a certain amount of control over what they're
Right.
able to watch, see, do, talk to, things like that.
Yeah.
And when they get older, we can give them a lot more freedom because I know that I can trust them with the little things.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. My 2 oldest boys, I wouldn't like if my oldest, he's old enough to drive. He's 16. There's no way I would give him keys to a car. He's just not mature enough
Yeah.
because there's been no discipline in his life. There's been no like structure to what he does. And so, I lean back on Alyssa and I being confident in our ability to raise our children correctly and again, walk by faith, not by sight, because when Alyssa said she wanted to do it, I was wholly on board. Like wasn't like, as soon as she said it, I'm like, good, let's do it. There was no doubt in my mind, but I didn't know how she was going to pull it off. But I also knew that she was capable. But my kids are going to learn responsibility at a younger age.
Yeah.
Like they know that when we come home from the store, if we're all out and the dogs are in their cages, they each have to let a dog out. They let the dog out, they put the dog on the chain, bring the dog back in. Like, all of those things are responsibilities that they're learning.
Yeah.
They know that when they're told to clean up, they have to clean up. If you tell my oldest he has to clean up, you find everything under his bed.
Yeah.
Like that's cleaning up
Oh,
to
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And I know that some of that is teenage years,
Sure, but
it also comes with
It
proper,
was instilled at a young age.
right?
Though.
Proper,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to discredit
No,
what
no.
his mom does, but because I didn't raise him that way
Right,
either. Like
right.
it's a change in philosophy. The older you get, the more mature you are, which is also why I would say people who have kids at 16, 17, 18 years old, I don't know how they do it because, I mean, Alyssa and I don't know how old I was when Emma was born.
Well, Aaron.
So, well, yeah, but I don't even want to talk about them
Okay.
because that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was 21, 22 in that area.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about raising
Yeah.
kids. All I was worried about was myself. Do you know what I mean? And so we have come a long way in learning how to care for our kids and what's best for them, what's best for our family unit. But again, it's all because of being grounded in faith and in our church. Because otherwise you just let the world have them.
Yeah.
And that's what the schools are at this point. The world just has them. They just go there and whatever they get taught. 'Cause my kids don't come home and tell me all of the things that they learned in school.
Well, even when I was growing up, my, grandma, whenever I was with my mom on Wednesdays, we'd go out to my grandma's. She's like, what'd you learn? I mean, they picked us up right from school. I'm like, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I remembered. I didn't care to.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
I don't
I
want to
didn't
hash it
care
out.
to
Yeah.
regurgitate it. Like,
Well, and I'm a, I don't know how to say this. I believe that we never stop learning. I think our minds are always processing new information and we're learning things. However, I think that when you grow up in a small community, when you grow up in a small town, you learn certain things that maybe aren't necessarily fully accurate. And I think back to like, this is a big one. This may offend some people, and I don't intend it to. It's fact. We learn about Christopher Columbus and the settling of America and all of those things, and it's just like I don't want to say they whitewash because that's an unfair term, but they just tell you the part of the story that's clean and wholesome.
yeah.
They don't give you all of the brutal stuff that happens also along the way.
Right.
Kind of like with the wars we were talking, like since we won.
Yes, history
that's
is
kind of
told
the
from the
way.
side of the victor.
Yes.
You
Well,
weren't
it's
here for
always
that.
been that way.
I know,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. So when we settled America, we only told the good side. We didn't tell any of the bad
I
stuff.
just feel like that's how a lot of events are.
Right. And so then that's how we share those stories to our children, and then that's how they believe that they happened, and then we start to forget, and we're tearing down monuments, and we're destroying. Listen, slavery. I don't think any of us are proud of that.
No.
I don't think I've ever met a single person that's ever like, yeah, that wasn't a bad idea. Like everybody's like, yeah, that probably shouldn't have happened. But the fact is, it did.
Fact is, it did. Fact is, we didn't invent it.
No.
It's been going on since the
And it's
Egyptians
still going
were
on.
the first
Right.
civilized
It's still going on in other countries.
people in the world, and they had it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But my point is that if we whitewash that part of history and we pretend like it never happened and we tear down the monuments and we stop talking about it, it's going to repeat itself in some way,
Absolutely.
some shape, some form.
Just like we were saying, we're banning all these books,
Yep.
but then why?
However, the only thing that I'll say for, like when I was young, we learned about Christopher Columbus. We learned about George Washington cutting down the cherry tree and saying, "Father, I cannot tell lies."
Right.
Now, you can argue that never happened.
right.
But I do think, I don't like when history is completely like, okay, it has to be 100% factual or we can't.
Well, it's going to be
We
impossible.
can't use it as an example.
It's going to be
Gonna be
impossible
too
to be
much.
100% factual.
I think some of those stories, it comes out, every story comes from some truth.
Yep.
So even if he didn't actually cut down the cherry tree,
Yeah.
but it's a good story that's based on his character of
Yeah.
what he became.
That I
And-
agree with.
And I
Yeah.
think it's okay that kids learn those stories because number one, it makes them have a love for their country.
Right.
And it kind of teaches them character and morals and something that they can identify with. And sometimes I think those things are okay because, like me, I learned all those stories and I learned to love history from that. Now, when I got older, yes, I kept wanting to know more.
Yeah.
So I learned the truth.
That's what I was going to
Yeah,
say.
yeah. As it is, but-
I'm not saying you should be telling kindergartners about
Yeah.
like the massacres of Indians. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we can't, if we don't continue to learn, if we aren't as adults growing and learning and doing new things, then we're always just going to believe whatever somebody else tells us.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets dangerous.
Well, and I just think because it wasn't perfect, because, there were some bad things that happened,
yeah.
doesn't mean, okay, now we have to completely erase that part of history because it wasn't perfect.
Yep.
And we're going to forget about all the good things that we accomplished.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with that.
Agreed. Like, and again, this
Way off topic.
may upset. Well, no, it's really not, because I think speaking specifically about homeschool, we wouldn't be doing that if we didn't have faith in all of the things that we believe in. I would allow my kids to continue to go to school and learn all of the things that the school system wants to teach them. And let's be honest, the school system is flawed in what it teaches, how it teaches, and when it teaches kids a lot of things. There are court battles over whether or not kids can be taught about gender identity. Listen, my kids aren't confused about what they are, and I don't need them to be confused,
being confused.
right? Because
Yeah.
we're now talking about it. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that there are kids who go through a lot of stuff, and
Yeah.
all of those things happen in the real world. But because I can protect my children from a lot of that, that's going to be the choice that I make. I don't fault anybody for doing it any other way. But my faith has allowed me, my family, to say that Christ is the solid rock that we stand on, and that's it.
Yeah.
Adeline said to Alyssa today, this is not a joke. This is not like me exaggerating. She walked into the kitchen, and Alyssa picked her up and spun her around and put her back on the floor. And she goes, Mom, pick me up, turn me around, and put my feet on solid ground.
Yeah.
Like when your kids say
Yeah.
things like that, and while she, like, to her it was cute and funny, like, that's a seed that we have planted
Right.
that she will never forget. She may not remember that song. She may not remember that moment, but she's going to remember that we have always told her to plant her feet on the solid rock. And so then as she gets older, she's going to do her homework and she's going to understand that the solid rock is Jesus Christ.
Yep.
And then she is going to have a firm foundation. Listen, it's not going to happen at 12, 13, 14 years old.
No.
It may not happen until she's 30.
That's right.
But there's always going to be. So I
That
think
seed has been planted.
right,
Yeah.
there is a time and a place, and our faith has allowed us to do those things. Your faith has allowed you to do those studies and understand that the world's not perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Like I said before, a lot of people think, well, the Bible's a, you know.
oh yeah,
No, well, the Bible's a pretty
it's
violent
pretty
book.
brutal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I joke all the time. And I don't remember where it's at in the Old Testament, but there's one specific story where they talk about people being impaled on poles. And I use that as an illustration
Yes.
regularly, but it's true. Like
Yeah.
they had these really long poles and they just plop, impale people on them. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But it's important to, like, that's part of where we've been.
Yeah.
We've been there. We've seen
Humanity.
that. Yeah. It's part of humanity. It is what it is. And there's no changing it. You accept it for what it was. And in a time where it was normal, I was reading something the other day where France was still executing people with a guillotine when somebody was alive. Like there was a specific life event. And I don't remember what it was, but it was really bizarre to think that, like, in our lifetime, people were still being beheaded in France.
Yeah.
Like it's the world.
Yeah.
Where we went wrong was the internet. Because now we have worldwide access to listen.
When kids had to stop using the Dewey Decimal System.
Honestly, because when you were growing up, you read a local newspaper that had local news. And yes, you might get an overseas story if something crazy happened.
Something big event.
Like-
yeah.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you were getting local news and not like local Ohio news. You were getting Tuscarawas County
Yeah.
news. And now I can hop on the internet and I can say, you know, what's going on in Beijing, and I can have every piece of information that I could ever desire and a lot of stuff that I don't really need to learn. And then, even if it's not true,
I was gonna say-
read it and it's fact.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't know what's true and
No.
what's not, especially when you're 10,
No.
11 years old. You're going to
Yep.
read something and
Yep.
think it's true right away.
You and hop on Wikipedia. Anybody can edit that. You know what I mean? But
Sure.
if you search something, Wikipedia is typically the first thing that pops up.
Yep.
So you know, who is John the Baptist? I guarantee if you Google
you want to
that,
read this 800-page book, or
Yes.
do you just want to read
yeah,
Wikipedia?
let's
real
get
quick?
the Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
Remember that? That's
Yeah.
a throwback too.
Yeah.
Used to go to the bookstore and get the Cliff Notes because I didn't want to read any of the books that I got. I remember the Scarlet Letter. I remember in school we had to read the Scarlet Letter, which is a banned book now, by the way.
Yeah.
Can't read that one anymore, I guess. And I remember when I read like the first 2 chapters and I'm like, I'm just going to wing it. I'm just going to wing it. And I wrote an essay on the book, which I failed miserably because I had no idea what happened.
Yeah.
Not a clue.
I remember I think it was 6th grade history class, we had to write an essay about a historical figure. So I read this over the weekend. I read this biography of Thomas Jefferson. I mean, it was thick. And so, of course, me being me, I probably wrote this like 20-page essay on Thomas Jefferson. And I turned it in, and he's like, I'm not going to read this. And he just put an A on it and handed it back. Like, even the teacher was like, I appreciate this, but no.
Yeah.
So,
Did you learn anything from that?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I was watching A Christmas Story the other day because why not? And when Ralph had to write the theme and he was writing
Yes.
all
Yeah.
and it was a very short, like, and that's why I think a Red Ryder is a great Christmas gift.
I don't think a football is a very good Christmas present.
Like it was just very choppy in sentences. I saw, and I don't remember where it was. Oh, it was laying in Alyssa's van on the passenger seat, and they had to have Starbucks this morning. So my kids, honestly. Like, I don't know where they came from.
Homeschooling.
Yeah,
kids.
I was gonna say they are Alyssa's children for sure. Cake pops at 10:30 in the morning. Yeah. But anyhow, I look over and I read it, and it's just indicative of Ralphie writing this. Like, and it's funny because that's how like kids' minds work.
Yeah.
He's at that age where that's how he.
We were talking about that today because Chase, we went to Grandma Bolivar. Anyway, he needed his haircut, which Grandma Bolivar will only do.
Okay.
He only allows Grandma Bolivar, I
Okay.
should say. So we're, talking about Christmas, and something came up about his brother. Well, I go, that reminds us. Which now, it's funny because his brother is now a writer, like, for a living.
Oh.
So we pull out this journal that was like, yeah, I think we figured he's 12. Yeah, I figured I'm going to write about my Christmas break. We'll start at Black Friday. And it was just like one page, but he had all this ambition.
Yeah.
But we were saying, like, isn't it crazy how, we thought at 12 years old, we're like, oh, we have it so rough and this
Yeah.
and that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Life sucks. And now we're like, oh, if we
I have
could
to
just
get up and go to
only.
work
yeah,
tomorrow.
if only. And I'm like, yeah, he's probably thinking like, oh, there's nothing to do. Let's just sit here and write, and we're like, if only we could just go back to those times.
that. Yeah.
Does Grandma Bolivar make good pizza?
Actually,
'Cause
they
then
do
she
make
could be
homemade
Grandma
pizza.
Bolivar pizza.
Yeah, they do make homemade pizza. It's pretty good. But,
Interesting.
yeah.
Bolivar pizzas.
Yeah, I've heard.
Bomb.
I heard
Is it?
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with
Because
you.
it's one of those, you can get the party pizza, which is kind of a throwback to like the Dominator
Yeah.
and the Bigfoot back
the
in the day.
Bigfoot. Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good.
You know what they should bring back? And I just saw that McDonald's has Happy Meals for adults.
I
Yeah.
saw that.
Thank you,
Yeah.
But
McDonald's.
they're
for
like
that.
$14.99.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to buy one.
Yeah.
I just thank them for the nostalgia.
Yeah.
But Pizza Hut needs to bring back the personal pan pizzas and book it.
Book it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like, I want my badge. I want my little stickers on the badge. Like, I want the whole bit. As an adult, I want to be able to go in there with my adult book it badge that's full. I want my little certificate, and I want to be able to get myself a personal pan pizza. I'll need 4. But the good news is they give me 1 for free. I'll buy 3 more.
Yeah.
But it's really fun to think about how we grew up. And again, I didn't grow up in the church. I didn't grow up in a church at all. And now I'm starting to, like, you look at your kids and all of the things that I was saying earlier. I want them to have things that I didn't have, to be able to experience things that I didn't get to experience. So on that note, the piano teacher that my kids see, her name is Miss Dorothy. She's at Rosalind's Music.
Really? Dorothy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I taught guitar there for 6-7 years.
Really?
Because I took guitar lessons from Dan.
Okay.
I don't know if you know Dan
I
up
know
there.
Dan,
but
Dan
yep.
Gribble. I know
Yeah,
Dan.
Dan Gribble. So I took guitar lessons from him, and then when I was done with that, they asked me to start teaching. So I did that for quite a while.
So Ralph
Love
just
those
passed
people.
away.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, Ralph just passed away, which is funny because it's not funny that he passed away, but the experience, like the way that it happened. Alyssa and I, when we take the kids in for piano lessons, he's there every day.
Oh, yeah. He was every day.
At one point, he couldn't stand. He had his walker.
He did concrete every day, and
Yeah.
then would come right to the studio afterwards.
So he just recently passed away, and Dorothy decided she's going to take 4 weeks off. So my kids kind of have like a little break at Christmas. But she said to us at the last lesson, she said, I don't know what it was, but it just clicked for Adeline. So it used to be she would have to look at the music, look down at the keyboard, push the note, look up, push the note. And now she can, like, and she
Take
said
it
it was
off.
just in one,
That's
like it just happened.
yeah. I
So-
was listening. Sadie Robertson. I think it was her cousin was on there with her dad. So it'd be Sadie's dad. But they were talking, and the cousin had a lisp growing up, and she had a cleft lip, so she couldn't necessarily sing the best because she had surgeries all the time. So she was always, just in repair and stuff. And he's like, I'll never forget when I saw her just playing to practice, and then when I saw the transition of her playing to worship and sing, and she'll just stop and like raise her hands randomly, like, and a perfect accord and stuff. And he's like, he choked up talking about this, and it was just really, really crazy to hear that. Like, I think she'll get that, one day. Like,
We put the kids in piano because we want them to understand music.
Yeah.
Like we're a music family. We love music. We've always got music on in the house, and it doesn't matter which room you go into. There's something playing somewhere. You go to the office. Chances are, right now, there's an Elvis Christmas album on the record player. You go to the kitchen. Alyssa typically has worship music playing in the kitchen whenever she's in there. Adeline, you never know what you're going to get in her room. I heard her say one day, "This is not a joke. Alexa, play rap music." And I'm like, no. And I don't know where
you mean rap Christmas
I
present?
don't know where she heard it from. Like, she had to
Rapping music.
Yeah.
had to have been a TV show or something. But she's just like, Alexa, play rap music. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Well, yeah, I love those people. Now you told me that, I'll have to get up there and see them. And
So,
they were the best.
but it's just really, again, we're able to adapt our lifestyle based on what we believe, what we believe is best for our kids, what we believe is best even for our community. Like, I don't think that the organized structure of school is right for kids anymore. Like, my Easton, he could never sit in a classroom for 6-7 hours a day now.
Yeah.
Then ride on the bus to get home. Like, that's hard for him. So why put him through that?
Even when, I don't think they do personal finance anymore, but even when they did, I only took a semester of it. Like, thankfully I kept my stuff because I was always intrigued by that. But it's like, even that semester is a semester of someone's how many 13 years being in school. Like, that's not going to click for most people. Like, it needs to be instilled. Like, starting
you don't learn that stuff
grade,
until you're in the world.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Yeah.
And you going back to homeschooling them and everything. I think Mal started freshman year doing Kent classes, so she was half part-time at Kent, half at home, and Claymont and this and that. So now she's technically like a full-time Kent, but just seeing her, even like she's almost like the maid at home. Like she's got this little schedule. She's like, oh, I didn't do laundry today. Oh, I didn't. And I'm like, this is just so great that she has that, because I didn't have that structure when I left the house, you know, and none of us four, they'll say all the time, Mallory is the most helped out of all of us, which she is, but it's like, I truly think her being home part-time at first and now full-time, that's instilled just there's a development and maturity and
so there are a lot of people. I have one of the owners at work, his wife she has a heart for service. She will serve anybody at any point, and it doesn't matter what it is. If you need something, you call her, I guarantee she'll be there. And Mal will end up being the same way. It'll just be it's part of their DNA. It's who they are. But again, it's how they're raised. It's what they have what they're able to do in life, what they're not able to do.
Right.
Like having a defined understanding of what my kids, one of the things we tell them is figure out what you're good at, and that's what you can do. You don't have to go to college. You don't I'll be honest with you. We don't have a college fund for any of our kids. We don't have a college fund for any of our kids because if they want to go to school, we'll figure it out. But at this point, I don't know that any of them are going to want to go to college. So I'm not going to force them.
Like
Aaron, there ain't no way that boy's going to like, he don't want to go to high school. College, you know what I mean? But he's going to do something that, you don't have to go to school for. I remember he used to tell me, I'm going to be a YouTuber. Well, doesn't everybody? You know what I mean? But it ain't going to pay nothing.
That's where Maggie is right now.
Yeah. Going to take a while to get there. And it can be done. I mean, there are plenty of them, but it doesn't last forever.
Don't count on it.
Especially when everyone's trying to do it, which everyone is right now.
It doesn't last forever. And so you have to have a backup plan. And that backup plan may be working what you feel is a dead-end job for a little while. But if you have faith to believe that you're doing the right thing and that God has you in the right place.
Yeah, and if you're not okay with, if you're okay with just going from job to job, probably not. But finding a career, I'm all about that. So.
Yeah, and career isn't the same for everybody.
No. And it's not a lifetime thing for everybody either.
There are people who I know who've been working for McDonald's in management for, 15, 20, 30 years. And they make great money. People knock fast food, but it's because it's a high school, typically a high school entry level job. But here's the deal. If you got to start, you got to start somewhere. I mean, wherever's going to hire you. Do you know what I mean? You can't. You're not. It's like Cousin Eddie. He's holding out for a management position. He's holding out for a management position. Like, you're not always going to have that opportunity. So you got to.
I've been doing that for 50 years.
Holding out.
The fact that they're taking God out of school is, it's like we have to take God out of school because if we don't, then it leaves people out.
Yeah.
To me, that's just, I don't know how they got to that way of thinking. How did we get here? To where it's like, we got to take God out of schools because it's making things too complicated. It's leaving people out.
But then we have to put certain things in.
Yeah.
Here's,
baffles me.
I find that very sad. That
here's what I learned. So we had a company Christmas party last week, and I welcomed everybody, and I said, hey, we're all going to bow our heads and say grace before we eat. And I just did it. If you don't want to bow your head and say grace, that's fine. Just don't do it.
It's not like you have a gun
Right.
up to
I'm
their
not
head
forcing
like, hey,
anybody to
yeah.
do this. Just all I ask is that you sit there respectfully and quietly and like move on with your day afterwards.
Right.
And if you want to sit there and pray to Allah or whatever, I'm not going to bother you. You're not going to bother me. Like if I tell you Merry Christmas and you don't celebrate Christmas, tell me Happy Hanukkah or whatever. And I'm going to fist bump you and say, cool. Like, I'm not saying it because I want you to celebrate Christmas. I'm saying it because I want to exchange pleasantries. I want to be kind. I want to be courteous. That's why I'm saying it.
That reminds me. The other day I was delivering mail, and I know this house is a he's actually a pastor, but he met me at the mailbox, and I gave him his mail, and he's like, "Hey, you have a happy holiday," and I was like. Hey, no, man. I'm like, no, you have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, we have a Merry Christmas around.
Yeah.
And again, I get that there's a certain level of inclusion, and I don't necessarily. If you ever hear me say, "Hey, have a happy holiday," it's not necessarily meaning just Christmas. I typically say that before Thanksgiving. It's weird the way my brain is wired because I mean Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. Do you know what I mean? Like I want you to have a nice holiday season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we do 3 back to back.
But then after Thanksgiving, you're like, no, Merry
no,
Christmas.
now it's Merry Christmas. Yeah, now I can say Merry Christmas. Yeah. And then you don't hear anything about New Year's till New Year's Eve. I'm like, oh, have a happy New Year.
Yeah.
Have the New Year you deserve.
Oh.
It is what it is.
Oh man.
And you're never going to change the world. Like one person's not going to change the world, but the kindness of faith in Christ, that's what will change the world. That's the difference maker. When we're all kind to one another, when we can look at other cultures and say, hey, listen, they're not us. They don't believe all the same things that we believe, but we're still going to love them. And again, I know that that's hard when you think about, people who are killing Christians and persecuting Christians. It's hard to love them, but you look at Jesus on the cross. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do.
And we push kindness and the idea of kindness plenty. We push that idea right now, but we're not looking at the source.
Yeah.
We're not looking at the source where all that kindness and that idea comes from. Because again, if you look at the world, there's not a whole lot of it. There's not very many examples you can draw from. I mean, but Jesus is the main example.
Right.
Yep.
And so, we want, be kind. There's all these type of slogans right now, but we're not looking at the source. So it's kind of like, okay, so how are people supposed to, be kind, but how is somebody supposed to understand that or grow into it
follow through
because they don't understand
if you don't
it
have the source.
They don't understand it because they've never seen it. They've never heard about it.
Yeah.
You said be kind, and I immediately went back to Family Video, the little stickers. Be kind,
be kind, rewind. Yeah, see it all fit in. That was so exciting when you'd go in, a new release, and there was like 8 of them on the wall, and if you go in, there might be 1 tag left.
So you're talking like you're wait.
I'm going back to like 4-star video.
Yeah, your old 4-star Quest Star video.
Yeah.
Because
that was always exciting.
Blockbuster always had the empty case in the front, and then they're like hard clamshell cases.
But that's when they got like 30 copies.
Yeah.
But I'm talking way back where you had to get in there early.
I remember when
you were upset for the weekend.
When
your plans were ruined.
Right. When Quest Star was next to Goshen Dairy.
Yeah.
So Quest Star was there.
Domino's.
I remember we went in there, and my brother would always, it was Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64 was big. He would always get a video game. Always pick something I couldn't play. And I remember one game specifically, Booger Man. Anybody remember that? No. It was a terrible game, and it was a guy who basically just flicked boogers. It was stupid. But anyhow, my brother would get games that I was never any good at, so then we would always get a video. And one time, I got this movie called Jack Frost, and I was like, I'm so excited to watch this movie. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm going to say? So because it's a clear case that says Jack Frost, so I take it home, pop it in the VHS, and it's a scary movie. It's like a snowman that's evil. Why would they not warn me? I was like 9.
Was the box there?
The box wasn't there. It was just like the clear. The
clear.
They had the brown cases there, the brown clamshells.
Because I remember the case. It was like one of those things that changed.
Exactly. Yeah. So the next time I go in, the box is there. I'm like, oh no, they put it out. Like, freaked me out, man. And then I watched the Jack Frost that had
Michael Keaton
in it, and I was like, okay, I can handle this. Like, this is more my speed.
Yeah. Margie always wants to watch that during Christmas, and I'm like,
it's sad.
I don't want to watch anything that ends up sad. Or there's like another, the mom dies at the end. She got cancer. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that. Where's the old Rankin and Bass year without a Santa Claus? Jeez, man. Not gonna have any of this heavy stuff.
Yeah, come on.
Oh goodness. I just one more note for me, and then we can wrap up. But the one other thing that I was thinking is, December 3rd is the anniversary of Alyssa's mom's death.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also the anniversary of her dad's death.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but
Yeah.
when her mom went to hospice, Alyssa was convinced, like she knew that her mom was going to pass away on December 3rd. Like she was like, because she said, my mom would not want me to have 2 days in which I had to mourn. Like that was in her mind, that was her mom was going to hold on until the 3rd. And so sure enough, she did. And December 3rd came and went.
Mm-hmm.
And I had called Alyssa. I don't remember what the situation was. She was supposed to go shopping that morning. And I noticed that she had only been gone for just a very short while. And so I called her. I was like, hey, she had gone to the mall or wherever it was she was going to go shopping. But then she went right back home. I called her. I was like, hey, why didn't you go shopping? She goes, I was on the phone with my sister for a while and I just wasn't in the shopping mood. So I went home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I was like, she said, I think I'm going to go back out later. I was like, cool. So she was at the mall and I was driving home and I said, well, how about I stop at the mall? We just get dinner at the Chinese buffet. So we're sitting in the Chinese buffet. She goes to get her plate. And because we had Christmas gifts and different stuff, we went to the buffet separately. And I was sitting there and I was on my phone and I see she made a Facebook post about about her mom and her dad. And I didn't recognize the day. Now I knew, but I didn't, like, my mind didn't process it. So she came back to the table and I said, hey, I'm so sorry. I said, I should have remembered. And she so gracefully said, I don't expect you to remember that. She said, that's mine, not yours. And it was one of those moments where you realize that, again, her faith walked her through December 3rd and will for the rest of her life. But the fact that she didn't hold that against me when she very well could have, she could have very well been upset.
But she's so right. But our natural instincts are like, why didn't you remember?
Right.
Yeah.
So, to be angry about it. But it was just so, and again, her faith is so much stronger than mine, just in everything that she does. She is so graceful with everybody. I mean, it's one of those, it's a perfect balance because of that. Like, I give very little grace. Like, I just, and I try, I really do, but like, I have to think about, let me tell you one more. So last night we're in the living room, okay? All sitting in the living room, having a good old time, just hanging out as a family in the living room, okay? What do I have in my living room? I have all the Swarovski crystal ornaments from the year Alyssa and I got married all the way to this year. We went to Columbus and bought one this year. And Alyssa's playing with the dog, and she has a squeaky toy, and she throws a squeaky toy, and it hits my ornaments, and she breaks one. And dude, everything I had not to just rage. And I sat there and I'm like, Lord, please just give me, Lord, please. And I mean, I was like, really? Why would you throw that? And she's like, it slipped out of my hand. I'm like, but seriously, like, we tell the kids not to throw stuff in the house, and here you are. But I wasn't like overly reactive. And so she looks for the pieces and she collects them and she puts them in a baggie. And Easton yells for her and he's like, hey, Mom, come here. He goes, give your son a hug. I know you're upset about breaking Dad's ornament. And she came, it's Easton for you. She came back in and I said, hey, I just want you to know I'm not upset with you, but you could at least say sorry. And she said, I did say sorry, but you were too upset to hear me.
Yeah.
But I really had to, like, the grace that she gives me, I don't always reciprocate. So again, her faith is so much stronger than mine. But what I appreciate about her is just how graceful she is in all things. But again, my faith, her faith is a perfect blend for how we treat our kids, how we treat the world, like what our family represents in our community. It's not like we're council members and mayors and like we're not prominent people in our community, but when we see somebody in need, we always step into action in some way. Like we always do something in some way. And that's mainly because of how wonderful she puts life together for us. So really thankful for that. And especially in this season, we're all busy. It's all very hectic, but coming out of that into like finding peace, which has been my message for 3 weeks. For those of you who haven't been here, like this is like find peace in this season, because you can worry about the gifts. You can worry about all the craziness and all the places you have to be and all the things you have to do and all the meals you have to cook and all the prep you have to do. At the end of the day, it's not about any of those things. Yeah. And I'm not even saying, just don't celebrate Christmas. Just focus on Jesus. Listen, that ain't ever going to happen in my house as long as there are kids around. And when we have grandkids, it'll be even worse. You know what I mean? But we have to center ourselves on what's important. And that's having faith in Christ. So any parting wisdom? I know my wife's not going to listen to this. So I just wanted to say one more time that while she is wonderful, I could have hurt her for breaking that ornament. She thought
I'm telling her to listen now. I'll say fast forward clear down to like 3 minutes remaining.
She thought she broke 2, but it turned out that it was one that was already broken. One of our children broke it years ago, and we know it was we're pretty sure it was one of the older boys because they actually picked it back up and hung it back on the tree. At that time, they used to hang on the tree, but the broken pieces were under the tree. And so that one we're never having fixed. Like, it's just going to live broken because it's just that, like.
Were they inscribed or dated or anything?
They're dated. They've got like a little metal tag on the top that tells you the year.
Okay.
So that one will always live broken, but the other one, she wants to have it fixed. So, yeah.
Bless her heart.
Yeah. Good times. Good times. Well, Nick, why don't you pray for us tonight?
Lord, thank you for bringing us all here together again. It's been a wonderful year for us. It's been such a pleasure to do this podcast week in, week out. And, of course, just teaching everybody all we can about faith and following you and just walking that path and continuing on to do the things that we know that you would want us to do and live our lives the way that you have planned for us. And we just ask that you continue that blessing on into this next year. And we just hope more and more people will join us from all corners of the world. And we'll just keep on doing as much as we can to pass your faith along and try to get it to more people. Yes. I pray that everybody gets home safely tonight and everybody has a wonderful holiday. And we just thank you for all your blessings. Amen.
Amen.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
So what's Sunday on?